today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about
how to recognize the difference between arguments that are going nowhere and the ones that lead to growth and understanding. Winning means going someplace that's different than both of you expected. All growth comes out of difference and resolution of difference, let's call it. And even an argument can be a way to resolve difference. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. I'm your host, Rich Heller, and today we're talking about how to recognize a fruitless argument from the one that is constructive. And yes, there are constructive arguments. That's kind of the whole point. The truth is that all creativity, all growth comes out of difference and resolution of difference, let's call it. And even an argument can be a way to resolve difference. This episode is all about how to recognize in yourself and perhaps in the other person when a discussion, argument, conversation about difference is moving in a direction that's destructive and not constructive. And this is really vital for your marriage. I mean, you need to get this. Disagreement is a fundamental part of marriage. It's a fundamental part of marriage. And our choices when difference come up are we can go along with it and just be real nice and amicable and see our own values and the things that we believe in slowly decimated, or we can act independently, either in an outright aggressive way, which is going to lead to conflict, or we can do it passively in a way that will probably lead to conflict, or we can talk about, air out our differences with our partner and together creatively find a way for the concerns that are being expressed in ourselves and our partner to become part of the solution. It's about moving towards solution. A fruitless argument is living in the problem. Constructive resolution of difference is about living in the solution. And that's what we're exploring today. This is a vital episode for your marriage. All right, so let's start with how do we feel in one-way communication versus how do we feel in two-way communication? And in order to do that, we need to make a distinction between one-way and two-way communication. So one-way communication is just what it sounds like. It's when you're saying something and they just don't seem to hear you or understand. Or it might be when you think that you're understanding them and you think you're hearing them, but they say you don't understand. No matter how many times you tell them what you think you're hearing, it just doesn't seem to jive with what they think they're saying. Two-way communication is when the speaker and the receiver are basically on the same page. Can two people ever perfectly understand each other? That might be a question for another episode, but let's go with this. Let's say we're lucky if we understand each other 80 or even 90%. That's huge. 100% understanding, that's rare in today's environment. Now, there are four basic kinds of one-way and two-way communication. In one-way communication, there's discourse, which is when we're trying to deliver information. That's a friendly, more caring way of communicating. And then there's diatribe, which is one-way and competitive. The purpose is to not only express emotions, but to browbeat, maybe to inspire the other person. The difference is in a discourse, we're openly sharing of ourselves in a way that we hope will be received, whereas in diatribe, we have a definite direction that we're going in. So that's one way positive, one way maybe not so positive. Then in two-way communication, we also have a positive and a negative. We have dialogue, which sounds really positive, and it is. It's about, the style is two-way and cooperative, and the purpose is to exchange information and to build relationships. And then we've got, on the other end, debate. And this isn't debate like you had in high school, or it might be a debate like you had in high school. Like a debate like you had in high school or college, each side presents their point of view, and an independent judge scores winning or losing, but there's a clear winner and a clear loser. If you enter into a debate in your marriage, there cannot be a clear winner or a clear loser. Let me tell you why. Because in your marriage, you are partners. And in a real partnership, if one person loses, the other person loses. It's a case of everyone in a partnership, everyone needs to win. Or if the other person is going to lose, let's put it, I'm putting it in quotation marks for those of you who are listening, they need to lose in a way where it's a win for both sides. I'll give you a quick example. I was called on the carpet by a leader in my life, and the way that it was delivered was definitely a diatribe and not a discourse. However, because I'm a member of that community and because I'm a leader in that community and I have responsibility to other people, I chose to receive the diatribe as a discourse. And so I made it a win for myself and therefore a win for the group. So, and what that means is my first reaction when being given a one-way competitive communication was reactive. I wanted to fight. I wanted to walk away with my toys. But when I realized I had a bigger responsibility, I was willing to receive what I could out of that diatribe, even though the tone and the emotion wasn't great. I took the inherent feedback that could have been delivered as a discourse and made changes in myself for the good of the whole. So it is possible for us to make a personal loss a win for everyone. But if that's consistently happens, then the partnership is eventually going to dissolve, right? In other words, if we feel like crap all the time, the partnership's going to dissolve. And now let's talk about how you feel. So how we feel is huge in identifying whether we are in a discourse or a diatribe or a dialogue or a debate. And how we feel is also huge in transforming that experience. The next episode, by the way, is going to be about transforming the experience. This episode is all about recognizing where you are. So clearly, if we're feeling defensive or attacked, we're probably perceiving the communication as a discourse, as a debate or a diatribe. If we're feeling offensive or attacked, we're experiencing the communication as a diatribe or a debate. If we're feeling frustrated and competitive, we're experiencing it as a diatribe or a debate. And our reaction is going to be from that place of defensiveness, from that place of hurt, sadness, fear, maybe anger, maybe blame, and maybe competition. Competition is usually driven from a fear of losing. And what's going to happen is we're probably going to shut down emotionally. And the more that debate goes on, even if it's meant to be a dialogue, when we're in that place, we will turn it into a debate. That's probably the best way to put it, right? So sometimes our partner comes to us in the spirit of discourse. They're sharing an experience or an emotion or a perspective that they really want us to understand and take in, but we receive it as a diatribe. They want to have a dialogue, but we receive it as a debate. And so the first thing to gauge is, are we in a place where we can really have this conversation? Now, if we're feeling any of those feelings, probably the best thing that we can do is step out. But again, we're going to talk about this more in the next episode. It's more about recognizing when we're in that space, it's highly unlikely that we're going to have a constructive dialogue. Now, we might present something to our partner in the spirit of discourse, and they might receive it as diatribe or debate. We may be looking to have a dialogue, and they experience hurt, sadness, fear, anger, blame, competition. Other ways that we can recognize that we're in the space of diatribe and debate instead of discourse and dialogue is there's emotional distance in the conversation or shutdown. Now, sometimes we can be managing our reaction and having some emotional distance it's probably more that we're going to experience physical tension. We're going to experience discomfort. That sense of partnership probably won't be present in those moments. We'll start to view them as something other, something separate from us instead of our partner. We may be focused on being right more than being happy, and vice versa. So instead of hearing our partner, for example, our mind races to the point that we want to make or what we want to say. We might start making assumptions about what they're saying and be ready with halfway through their communication with what our response is going to be. That's a sign that we're in this space. Or if we are talking to them and we see them, their face locking up, tension in their body, it may be that they're in that space. In either event, all right, there's not a lot of room to move from one-way communication that is destructive to two-way communication that is constructive. Now, on the other side, we want to recognize, what does it feel like when it's good? Come on. We all know what it feels like when it's good. There's curiosity and openness in two-way communication. A dialogue is going to be empathetic. We're going to be interested not only in how our partner's feeling, but we're going to want to make sure that we really are curious about their point of view. We want to make sure that when they're using certain words like success, for example, we really understand what they mean by success. The reason why I picked this word is this word has different meanings for different people in different contexts. For some people, success means making $1 billion. For some people, success means having a loving and nurturing family. For some people, success means personal recognition. For some people, success means accomplishment and achievement physically. Some people, success means accomplishment spiritually. Success has a broad range of areas and ways that it can be interpreted. So when someone says they want to feel successful, our partner says, I want to feel successful. We want to make sure that we understand the context. We want to make sure that we understand what they mean by success, that it's because probably their idea of success is going to be a little different than ours. Their experience of success is going to be a little different because they're different people. No matter how much on the same page you may think you are, you're always going to find their differences and distinctions, especially because you're both developing as individuals and you're developing in the relationship. You're going to want to look to see if there's emotional engagement and connection. You're going to want to look to see if there's calmness. Are your bodies relaxed or are they tense? You're going to want to look to see, what are the micro expressions? Are they blocked down or are they relaxed? Are you seeing positive emotion? Are you seeing signs of recognition, of identification, of empathy and compassion? You're going to want to focus mainly on understanding first. And you want to get that winning means probably going someplace that's different than both of you expected. All right. So sometimes when we go into a discourse that can turn into a diatribe and a dialogue that might turn into a debate, we go in with a set idea of what a win is. And in a true dialogue, when both people are expressing what a win is for each of them, the ultimate win is going to be a blend of both perspectives, the fullest and most complete blend of both perspectives. And so it's going to be a richer and better experience than either one of you individually could conceive of, right? That's fruitful dialogue as opposed to toxic debate. So when you step into a conversation with your partner and you're exploring difference, we're going to be looking for these distinctions. Are either of you feeling frustration or hopelessness, like you're stuck or not being heard? Or maybe you feel like you're being heard, but you're not really understood. If those feelings are coming up, you're likely in a one-way negative interaction, or maybe even a two-way negative interaction. Are you experiencing anger or defensiveness, or is your partner showing signs of anger or defensiveness? It's likely that you're afraid that you're not going to win, or they're afraid they're not going to win, that either or both of you feels threatened. Or are you experiencing disengagement or disinterest, or are they experiencing disengagement or disinterest. If you're thinking more about ending the conversation than resolving the issue, it's a strong cue that communication has become one-sided. Or maybe that you feel that like you're under attack and you just can't receive it, and vice versa. Look for body tension, clenched fists, tight muscles, fast heart rate. These all indicate that you're bracing for conflict. Look for shallow breathing or no breathing. You may be even holding your breath. A lot of times when we're really in sync with our partner, we might even be breathing in sync. Our body language is going to be, the more in sync we are, or harmony we are with our partner, the body language and the breathing is going to be more in sync and harmony. The more out of sync we are, the more shallow breathing, the more tension, the more smaller our world is going to seem in terms of our experience. And I want you to also recognize the emotional cues of positive communication, that you're engaged, that you feel connected to your partner, that you really not only hear the feeling and identify it in yourself, but that you're sharing that with them, and that maybe you even act from compassion if that you're willing to listen, that when they say you don't hear me, instead of going, I heard you just fine, you go, okay, I want to make sure I heard you. And you use some of the tools that we talk about here on Rich in Relationship. Look for relaxed posture and steady breathing. Equally important, I want you to notice the difference between when you're moving from one-way conversation to two-way conversation. So remember that in one-way conversation, we can be having a discourse where we're trying to share and enlighten, or we can be having a diatribe, often where we're reprimanding or lecturing, all right? We're starting out from that place of discourse, but we want to make sure that that discourse becomes two-sided, right? In reality, a dialogue is two-sided discourse, basically. One person shares what they're thinking and feeling in the spirit of discourse. The other person reflects back what's being thought and heard and reflects what they're thinking or sharing in the spirit of discourse. If you're having anything that is outside of that experience, if it's becoming defensive or more like a diatribe or a debate, then you're going to need to start practicing some of the tools that we're going to give you in our next episode. So the next episode is going to be all about how to take the realization and the recognition that you're engaged in diatribe and debate and shift it to discourse or dialogue, or shift it now or in the future from discourse and from diatribe and debate to discourse and dialogue. All right. So we've shared how to recognize the difference. We've shared what to look for in yourself and your partner. We've talked about why this is important. Stay tuned for the next episode where we talk about how to actually make this change. And we'd love for you to subscribe to Rich in Relationship and give us feedback on what you'd like to hear. What's the content you'd like to hear? Right now, a lot of the feedback that we get is just how many views, but we want to hear directly from you from you subscribing and commenting, please. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful tomorrow.